Thanks, Arvind. So media entertainment is a very large 2.4 trillion industry, growing at twice the pace of the global GDP. So it's clearly something that Web3 enthusiasts are obviously paying a lot of attention to. And it's also one of the, since a lot of the consumption happens digitally, it's also very applicable for trying new things from a Web3 standpoint. Within media entertainment, as you might, we all consume a lot of that. So we probably know that you have movies, you have TV, you have streaming, you have music, you have gaming, you have now metaverse and books, and so there are several different forms of consumption: short form content, branded content. So we are forever consuming this, and one of the big trends that has evolved in the last few years is that creators or people who are creating, that whole notion of them being a part of large companies or a corporate type setup has got unshackled. And you have now people creating in their homes, in their dorms, in their garage or wherever. And as a consequence, there is a new term that has got coined called the creator economy, because these creators are in some ways institutions in themselves. They've got massive millions and millions of followers and connectivity with the audience. And that becomes the basis to launch a whole business, which leads me to the second trend is that the venture capitalists, Rahul and his company included, have noticed that there is something called the creator economy, which is a massive business opportunity. And that needs to be backed, that needs to get funded, that needs to be nurtured to create big businesses. Now, when you come down to that, there are some challenges, which is why, something like Web3 comes in, is that, first of all, when you create an IP, you got to protect the IP. So there's nothing like blockchain to protect digital rights. So that's point number one. Point number two is that you also are forever transacting with other people in your community or your business, and you need the right kinds of contracts. And again, smart contracts on blockchain offer the opportunity to do that. And finally, which is a new possibility, which is the possibility of valuing and making your IP liquid in the market through NFTs and tokens and other ways of trading. That is the third big opportunity. And you can back this up with other forms of financial services like, or fintech situations like DeFi and others. So overall, big industry, creators are coming in the forefront of it. Creators need to create an entire business around them, and blockchain has a big role to play in
that. Great, thanks, Neeraj. So, as we think about media entertainment, adopting technology, being disrupted by technology, we've seen what Netflix has done in Web2. What principles and solutions and use cases are you seeing emerge in Web3 specifically?
So when the technology changes, there are two things that typically happen. One is you try to do what is being already done better. And secondly, new technology paradigm usually also ends up giving you opportunities to create new things that could not be done before. So following that sort of logic, if you look at it purely from the perspective of a creator, you have the option of making something, going on the Netflix platform. If you're not able to finance it yourself or make it yourself, you can't own the IP or license it. They pretty much take the IP. You end up losing a bulk of your margins as well as a consequence of that. The alternative is take the risk, possibly raise capital in a decentralized manner and make it yourself, own the IP, make it popular, create a community around it, and then go to the streamer or somebody else to license it at a much higher value and create a much more value for yourself. So I think that's something comes under the realm of doing the same thing but doing it better for protecting your interest. I think the second thing is doing things that have not been done before. I think you're seeing some glimpses of that came in Web2 as well, but these can be accelerated massively through smart contracts from Web3, which is the notion of distributed content creation, or for that matter, distributed business creation. So you've seen platforms like Wattpad, which allow fans to create fiction along with basic creator. I think there'll be a lot of such co-creation opportunities that will exist with fans, and it's also wonderful that they come up because you have the luxury of getting audience feedback and audience being investors, consumers, co-creators, everything in one bucket. And that's a new kind of possibility which didn't exist before. And once again, blockchain is right at the forefront of it. And we as a company, we kind of took an early initiative to develop a platform to manage an entire community. It's a platform called Dreamblocks. So we see that as a massive opportunity for the entire industry and the ecosystem to focus on.
Great, thanks. Rahul, in your view, how do venture capitalists and investors view Web3 led startups?
So, Arvind, for the venture capital industry at large, Web3 is happening and happening now. So, as a tech VC, we are always on the lookout for how technology is going to shape up in the future. So, if you only look at present, it's going to be a myopic view. So we've been tracking Web3 developments very, very, in a very focused manner. We've seen the meteoric rise of crypto. The exuberance has died down. The crypto funding has gone from a 32 billion last year to a mere 14 billion first half of this year, which is actually good for Web3 development. As Neeraj pointed out, we need far more use cases in Web3 than just a crypto opportunity. So what we see these days is large format engagement platforms, like Neeraj mentioned. Gaming and content economy is becoming one of the largest use cases for Web3 development. We are seeing a whole lot of work happening there. DeFi, of course, has been already kind of has seen a lot of development in the Web3 space. Fintechs have been a darling of VC investment in the past, although we see a very strong emergence of the gaming, media, and entertainment segment in the whole Web3 development space. So, yes, there's a lot happening. The transition from Web 1 to Web 2, you can't put a date on it, but once the wheels were set in motion, it happened seamlessly. And I think that is what is happening in the Web 3 space. Every day there is something new, and large format engagement platforms are the way for VCs to look at this space.
Right. Yeah, just to follow on that point, Rahul, um, we've seen in the past that as new technologies emerge, there's always a cycle where there's exuberance, things crash. So if you look at the dot-com bubble of the early 2000s, exactly the same thing happened. Um, what is your view on what is coming now in terms of new companies? Is that what is changing in the Web3 landscape?
So, Arvind, while I would say, I wouldn't like to really focus on companies, because, this is such a fast developing space, Web3, that if you tend to focus on companies, you lose sight of the bigger aspect. So we are more focused on developing the entire Web3 as an industry, as a community. We feel there is good work to be done in certain areas which will develop probably much earlier than others. Gaming and content takes front center for that development. So, I'm very happy to see, what Rainshine and Rainblocks have done in that space. One of their partners, Polygon, has done a lot of work in developing that space as well. So that is something which is commendable. We also see a whole lot of scope in two other aspects. So, real estate is emerging as a very, very deserving sector for Web3 development. Of course, it gets hit with some regulatory issues, but there is a lot of work happening around overcoming those hurdles, and we see quite a few players in global markets focusing on real estate. The entire tokenization of how real estate can be looked at, and the new emergence of tokenomics as the backbone of dealing with real estate and DeFi as a sector. I think that is very keenly being watched by us. So that's those are the areas where I think VCs will probably see a lot of opportunity come up in the near future.
Great, thank you. Neeraj, do you really think that Web3 will create new opportunities, new employment lines, new types of work uh, for uh, for the industry?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, it's really important to look at the evolution of a new technology in terms of things happen at different levels before a technology gets ready. So, I mean, we've had a lot of work done on initially, as you mentioned, it was very crypto biased. So all the focus on blockchain moved to around crypto exchanges and infrastructure and everything to make that happen. Then DeFi happened. So then again, backing that. But I think the one of the things that Rahul mentioned, like it completely resonates that when a new market develops, there is initial excitement, and then people realize that okay, well, this is not the complete picture. We have missing pieces, and we need to make sure that those get plugged in, so that a real opportunity comes. So from that standpoint, I think what is really important now is that we see actual use cases, actual Web2 businesses moving to the Web3 model, and that requires a whole range of developmental opportunities there, which would be, I mean, I think from our standpoint where we are is since we are more coming at it in a slightly different way in the sense that we were traditionally a media entertainment company, and we decided that look, there is a model based on new technology that is interesting for us. So the developmental efforts are largely around adapting the systems of these industries to Web3, which is largely ensuring that commercial contracts, the rights protection, and distribution contracts, all those things are captured on Web3. And therefore, if I were to single out one area which over and above every infrastructure development, software development that is there, that would be a massive opportunity for people to focus on from a career standpoint. It will be around smart contracts. It will be around developing smart contracts, ensuring that those are appropriately linked to different chains and followed, and there'll be coding opportunities. There'll be opportunities to create low code SDKs for different industries. There'll also be opportunities to create a whole range of services business around that. So I think that to me is the opportunity which is the time has come, and we'll see a lot of action on that in the next 2 or 3 years.
Great. Rahul, just curious, M&A startups in the Web3 space that stand out for you?
So at the moment, like I said, we are watching the space broadly. We are very happy to see how Rainblocks has developed. There are a few companies which are attempting to build around, capital markets, Web3 protocols for capital markets. There are a couple of companies which are focusing on real estate tokenization as well. So while again, we don't focus on particular companies, but we're watching the space very closely, and it looks very interesting to see, how it is developing.
Okay.
Rahul, I have a question for you. I mean, look, you're involved in building the tech part of platform today. What technical skill sets do you think are becoming more and more relevant and in demand, and where there are gaps in the market?
From a technology perspective, I think what's happening is uh, the base programming languages for creating the support scaffolding websites, workflows, those remain relevant, but a focus on the languages around programming. So in our case, we're using Polygon, so Solidity, which is uh, their smart contract, their coding language for the protocol has become important. And as these protocols evolve, the ability to write on the Ethereum chain, on Polygon, on Solana, and code to those specific standards becomes important. And for us, I think we're trying to find ways to simplify that. So our approach and our roadmap will take us towards building some of those no-code opportunities where our consumers and our community will actually be able to get onto our platform and interact with multiple chains at the same time. So that's really part of what we want to focus on. But I think it's an interesting problem because not all of these chains will survive. So we're going to have to pick things that we feel are important. And I would encourage everyone to do their research and pick the ones that don't necessarily have hype but actually have usage, because that will be an important statistic. Okay,
Should we open it up to the audience for questions?
absolutely.
Simon, we're happy to take audience questions. So while we wait, Arvind, I just want to follow up on what you said. I mean, you've chosen Polygon uh, as your initial platform, and how are you thinking about how did you make that choice, and uh, how are you thinking about building on it, scalability, and those sort of issues?
So the reason we looked at a lot, I think we looked at a total of about 20, 25 different platforms when we were going through this cycle about 18 months ago. And it boiled down to our ability to interface with Ethereum without running at the full cost of being on an Ethereum chain, uh, which we wanted to be on the largest platform or the most popular one, but we didn't want to pay those costs. And Polygon gave us an easy way to do that. And we wanted a platform that had adoption established. So those are the two key criteria for us. It was a big bonus that Polygon was, close enough to us geographically so that we could, get in there and meet them and build that relationship. But I think the key criteria were really down to economics and scalability. And, and so far, we've been really happy with the results.
Yeah, we've got a question, Arvind. This I think you can take this. How can we find more career opportunities in Web3 as developers are facing a lot of difficulty in this? So, you want to go first?
Well, yes, Siddhant, nice question. I think the issue that you're facing today is a result of what the market is doing, which is uh, in terms of, there is a little bit of a downturn. The opportunities will still exist over time. So, I mean, my advice to you is look at some of the key chains, make sure you have the right skill sets, and keep plugging away. Opportunities will come. This industry will is here to stay, in my opinion, and will evolve. But what you'll find is, as we are doing, we're building uh, platforms and we're building use cases for real industries now. You'll find a lot more of that happening. Maybe Rahul can also chime in there.
let me add one thing, and then we move to Rahul. Is that I think the traditional opportunities in blockchain were largely around startups focusing on crypto infrastructure, DeFi. But I think if you're looking at the fact that several industries are beginning to take this a little bit more seriously. So clearly, the larger IT services companies have got groups that are focusing on this and helping their clients build systems there. So you will begin to see that as a trend. I think will, my mind, accelerate in a year or two from now, but we're beginning to see that. And secondly, I think you will see some developer opportunities in actual consumer slash media entertainment companies where they will start developing their own blockchain expertise internally in-house as well. So the employment opportunities will be more diversified, but I think look, anyone who's been a bit older, like some of us on the panel, and who had a long career, you go through cycles. The cycles are to do with the state of the economy, there's also the state of the evolution of the technology. So there is a sort of a down cycle at one level about one aspect of Web3, which is largely related to crypto. But we don't see that as a major long-term issue. Maybe the next 12 months or so could be a bit tougher, but the opportunities will be very significant. And clearly, Rahul, you can add to it in terms of a lot of opportunities get created by VC-backed companies. And how are you thinking about backing companies in this space?
So, Neeraj, completely agree with you, Arvind. There is huge opportunity as far as tokenization is concerned. It becomes the core strategy, front center of value creation and value monetization, which brings to light the tokenomics in a big way. You know, people who can write rationale, can create use cases and write the logic to kind of operate those tokens are really needed. We're seeing that in the VC industry. We're seeing a lot of youngsters come up and write, codes for token logic, and that's what is prevalent these days to create multiple use cases. Like you said, crypto is kind of, we're beyond crypto when it comes to Web3 now, and as we kind of incorporate more and more industries into the Web3 protocol, more of this will be needed. So I personally feel, from the perspective of our audience, this is an area which would create a lot of jobs in the future.
Okay, great. Any more questions from the audience? I mean, I'm going to turn it back to you today as you're developing your product. And from what I understand, which I fortunately do, which is that you're working with a lot of third-party developers as well. What sort of talent is today employed on those products?
So as we're developing our platform, we're actually building out a fairly complex business proposition in terms of the workflows we're dealing with. We're dealing with media and entertainment contracting and how those contracts interact with each other. Uh, we've built a workflow, and we've then a custom set of workflows, and then we've then uh, plugged that into Web3. So we use a lot of Java uh, for the core web development, and then we use a lot of uh, we use a lot of blockchain development just for transaction processing and tracking and the smart contracts. So we actually have to develop the platform in two layers, and therefore the skills are a combination of Web 2 and Web 3. I think we have another question. Um, Manshi is, what is your opinion about the future application of Web 3 and semantic web?
Uh, I, I can try and take a crack at the future application of Web3. I think, uh, and I can, since the session's about media and entertainment, I can largely talk about that. Semantic web, I will need some help from one of you guys to come onto it. But basically on Web3, very simply, we need a lot of work around, uh, I would say three activities. One is the integration of uh, digital rights that will reside on blockchain with the various aspects of the legal system. Because it's one thing to have immutable rights on blockchain, but it is still, I've heard of enough situations where this has to be recognized by the court of law, just as there was a long time they took to get used to what is online versus offline. From a legal system standpoint, there is no issue about getting used to contracts that are on blockchain. So I think from that perspective, there's a whole issue around contracts, in terms of rights and all that. I think, as I mentioned earlier, development of smart contracts and coding around that, creating systems that make things easier for that, and that is a universe of activity that will apply to every industry. I mean, we are focused on media entertainment. You can do smart contracts for real estate, for any area where there's an asset or an IP, you could need smart contracts there. So I think that's another aspect that is going to be quite huge in terms of the future applications there. And I would just say urge everyone who's in the sphere to, while you may be developing your technical skills, try and develop the ability to translate that skills to apply to one or two industries. That'll make you a lot more employable. Whether it's real estate plus Web3 knowledge, or Web3 plus gaming knowledge, or Web3 plus something else, I think that combination will be very valuable for you in your career.
Yeah.
Arvind, you
Just
want
to
to add
add to
or
that,
yeah.
yeah, just to add to that, Neeraj, in terms of Web3, Web3 is going to generate a lot of data, especially when businesses like ours start moving on to Web3, adopting it. We're going to generate a lot of data uh, in the blockchain. And the semantic web is really poised to take advantage of that because the semantic web is all about making that, taking data and making it machine readable. So I think it's fairly complementary to what we're doing. Uh, how it actually evolves will we will see over time. But I think we are a key input to the evolution of that semantic web in terms of the blockchain contracting frameworks and universe that will get created will actually allow semantic web to flourish.
Yeah, we have time for one more question because we are 2 minutes away. So Mahesh has a question about gaming. So Mahesh, one thing I do not know if you're a father and if you have children, but I do. They've grown up, and I pretty much realized as they were growing up that the types of entertainment they consume is very different from the types of entertainment I consumed when I was growing up or when I grew older. Kids today don't watch as many movies. They really don't like TV. They don't like to watch TV. They don't like news. Uh, they are essentially onto short form content on platforms like YouTube or Josh or TikTok or whatever they can get access to. Twitch is very big, and they love to play games, and that is their thing. Too much of everything is bad, but at the same time, being left out of not being able to do what other kids are doing is also not great from the perspective of them being included in conversations and socializing. So, at some level, I don't think gaming is going away. Uh, my kids and I had a deal, which is that look, you can play, but you cannot fall short on your homework or other things you need to do. And they kept that part of the deal. They were gamers, and I think a lot of their career, what they're doing, is influenced by their gaming experience. So I don't think it's such a bad thing as long as it's done in control, as long as they understand that there's some balance to be maintained. And in some ways, this is the thing they do. People, I mean, just to give you a perspective, the gaming industry is 6 times the size of the movie industry. Okay, it's not even close anymore in terms of, and it's growing faster. So this is the thing. This is what they do when they grow up. This is what they will do. So I think it's good that we embrace it and we also ensure that it is done with some sort of balance, and that's probably the right thing.
Neeraj, completely agree. I think it's more about knowing how much time to spend on it than trying to restrict the access to gaming. I think I completely agree with your view.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you very much, Neeraj, Rahul. I think we're almost out of time. I can see we have about 20 seconds left. So just to very quickly summarize, we think media and entertainment is a great opportunity for Web3. We see great growth potential and applicability in this industry, and we thank you for your time and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Thank you.